folks, welcome back to Slapdash Garage. Today we're going to be installing some sway bars on my autocross Miata. Reason why we're installing sway bars is because I had some scraping issues and I was told by some other people at the course that this is the way to remedy that kind of situation. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so in a nutshell, these are what sway bars are. This guy here that I'm holding is the rear, this guy is the front. I bought this kit from Flying Miata, and I'll go into why when I'm installing it. Now, essentially, the reason we care about sway bars is because they're the component in your suspension that is going to directly affect body roll. Well, they're at least one of the components in the suspension that's going to affect that. But sway bars are the easiest things to adjust and change to get less body roll when you're on the course. The reason we care about body roll is because if you have too much body roll, it's going to cost you traction when you're in a harsh cornering condition. And you can see in this clip of my Miata, when the Miata is rolled all the way to one side, it's taking all the weight off of one tire, and that's not really good because essentially how a tire works, one of the ways it works anyway, is the more weight that you put on it, or downforce, the more that tire is going to work. And you can also overload a tire, and so what we're essentially trying to do is level our wheels out. That way we have more consistent traction through harsh corners. Alright, so I got these sway bars from Flying Miata, and they produce quality stuff. Quite honestly, they are a great group that spends a lot of time with research and development to figure out exactly how they do things and what's going to work for most people. Now, I called them actually and figured out what would be the best setup for my car, being it's just on factory suspension for the most part, and this is really going to be the first mod that we do to the suspension. And they recommended to me that even in an autocross setup, you want to run the front, a stiffer front bar for sure, and also run a stiffer rear as well. And so a lot of people who do autocross, who have been doing it for some time, they'll typically do a really stiff setup in the front, and I've even heard people disconnecting the rear altogether. Now, we're running on factory springs, and that means factory spring rates. And so Flying Miata spent a lot of time figuring out what you would need in that kind of situation. And so we're going to go ahead and install a stiffer rear. And we have the adjustability to where if we want to soften it a little bit to perform better, we can do that. And also, this is just going to leave the car to be a little bit more versatile. So it'll feel maybe a little bit nicer on the street. I don't know. But I guess the other thing is if we ever do take this thing to a track someday, and instead of doing tight and intricate corners, and we're more doing like long sweeping corners, a rear sway bar will definitely be necessary. All right, with all the literature out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start on the front of the car and then move to the rear. Alrighty, and just like that, we have a hover car again. Now, this is the sway bar. This is what we're replacing. This is what we're upgrading. On the other side, it's going to be kind of the same story, but we're going to have these two bolts here that we're going to take this bracket out, and this guy will be loose. But before we do that, we got to take our end links out. Which, by the way, I do have adjustable end links also. And it's going to be kind of the same story in the back. Here's the end link, new end links also, and then here's our factory sway bar. Same kind of thing, except it looks like there's two nuts back here. We'll get those taken out. Same kind of thing on the other side. So, little word to the wise, something that I remembered was I don't have to take this top one out. As long as I get the bottom out, I'm taking this whole thing out, so it'll just come out all at one time. The other thing that I figured out, you can see that my caliper's turned. When this tie rod is out of the way, this guy will actually have room to come out. When this is in its normal straight position, this tie rod, this will hit it. So turn the wheel, get that out of the way. The other thing, WD-40 is a man's best friend when he lives in the Rust Belt. Just kind of spraying and praying around that. If we set our guy up here, we can put the impact on the other side. Hold your ears. Just like that. If it's not that easy, I'm sorry, I've been there. Just not today. And with that tie rod out of the way, this guy will come out. Oh, doing. There's a bracket that just slid off. The other one, it wants to do the same. Here we go. The old 30-year-old bushings do the same. They're slotted or slit, so they wrap around the bar. Maybe I should have took these end links out. They're kind of getting in the way. Oh, nope. It's time to come out now. Alright. Progress-ish. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have to take one of these off. I should be okay with the other. Alright, let's get all the mitochondria on the same page here and engage the power. Okay. Took the passenger side sway bar link off in hopes that there's less geometry to navigate. Good, never mind. Oh, wait a minute. Just got failed, and then we can succeed. Nope, that wasn't it. Part of me thinks it'd be easier the other way, but maybe I get halfway through that and realize, no, it's the other way. Alright, well, we're gonna try it. Mitochondria engage. Oh, like butter. That was really easy. Honestly, as far as car parts go and installs and taking out, that wasn't that bad, so can't really complain. That was without WD-40. Only because I left it on the table. Now I don't know much, but what I do know is these ratcheting wrenches, and not just a normal ratchet, but these box end wrenches that ratchet on the box end, they are awesome. If you don't have some, pick yourself some up. Worth the money. But you gotta go the right way. There. We're playing a similar tune, but this time we're in the back. There's a lot less going on here. One thing we gotta dodge is a muffler. I think I'm gonna be able to get away with it without taking off the links on this one. Imagine that. The rear is much easier than the front. Alright. So now that I got the rear sway bar off, I'm trying to get my end links assembled that I got from Flying Miata. So, try to get these set up. Didn't realize they came in pieces, but I should be able to figure this out. A couple of sets of jam nuts. It's the ball bearing. Can't remember if that was top or bottom. Probably, oh, yeah, I get it now. Probably needs to be one here. Or there. Backwards threads? What is going on? Yeah, I'm thinking these are left-handed threads. Where's the instructions? Left-handed thread, you need 2 left-handed threads to make that work. So we're gonna get that pretty far up here. That way it's just out up. Lefty is righty. Yep, that's normal thread. These are shiny. That's one end link. Alrighty, now that we got our end links assembled, we're gonna do a little bit of a comparison now that they're both off the car. Both sway bars, front and rear. We can compare it to the new front and rear. Right off the bat, this guy is definitely heavier than this guy, and so maybe it's a little bit more dense, but it's also, maybe the camera's not picking it up very well, but it's also much thicker. We can get a measurement here. Just a, oh, give me that. Just a loose idea. Almost an inch diameter, like 3/4. So yeah, we're definitely gaining some material there. You'll notice that the geometry is a little bit different. This guy's 90 kind of kicks out, I don't know, 30 degrees or so. But I think all that's really important is that this face ends up in the same place that this face is, or it might be the outside. I don't really remember. But the other thing that I've noticed is the rears are slanted, if you notice that. And so actually, I got this guy upside down compared to the other. And so the front sway bar, it won't matter which direction we're putting it on, whether it's like this or like this, because it's symmetrical. This guy, though it be symmetrical, it's not symmetrical on this plane, if that makes sense. So there's a wrong way to install it because this guy's slanted, so we want to make sure it's going the right way. The other thing that I'm noticing, we're gonna have to reuse some hardware. They did provide us with these new bolts that are meant for the front end links, but we're gonna have to reuse like some of the nuts and lock washers that come off of these, which that's not that big a deal. It did come with new brackets and new bushings, but it did not come with screws to put them in. So we're gonna move that to our good side here. As far as the front goes, those pieces of hardware are the only ones that we'll have to remove, and I'll get these guys shifted over here in a minute. And then for the rears, they did not come with brackets because the rear looks to be similar enough size that you could just adjust the bushing size and you can get away with the bracket. So we're gonna need the bracket. Like so. OCD, there. And then we're also gonna need the nuts that they came with. So doing those things, we should have a complete set. Oh, and also the hardware that we pulled off of these guys here. We'll have to use those for this bottom bushing for the rear. And we were actually able to use the same sets of fronts, or excuse me, the same sets of sway links for the fronts that we're using for the rear because these guys are adjustable. And that's what I was putting together earlier. So you can turn this turnbuckle and you can actually adjust the length of this. And because of this, what do they call that, ball joint style, this geometry will shift where it needs to be and it'll still be pretty reliable for us. And so instead moving away from the bushing on both sides to a ball bearing and a bushing on the other. Get this rear sway bar put in, threading the needle. Yep. I don't know, that's kind of what we want. Let's get the end link put on here. Did I do this wrong? You bet you did. I put it in upside down. Sweet. What y'all doing on a Friday night, huh? I'm installing sway bars. What else would I rather be doing? Now that we got this installed, and we did it right the first time because we read the instructions, let's see if we can get these links to link. We're just gonna get those loose because we're actually gonna tighten those down once the weight of the Once the car is back on all four wheels, we'll get under here and tighten these down all the way. Alrighty, so I got the end links in, got the bottom one. It's still pretty loose, that way I can rotate it if I need to. These brackets are kind of tight, but if you use a little rubber mallet, they slide right in. And it's the same story on the passenger side. Now I'm using the end links right now. They're as short as they can go. That way I can kind of adjust as I need to. That way I have some little bit of flexibility. I got the bushings on the bar, as you can kind of tell. And I don't have the brackets. The brackets are in my pocket along with the hardware. So, man, this thing is a lot heavier. Let's see if we can maneuver. Just a little bit of jiggle and wiggle. And I think that's where we want to be. If only I had a tool where I could pull the trigger and then it would just spin the hardware. Somebody should make something like that. So we got these bracket bolts now snugged up because we have our tie rods. They're not all the way tight. Again, I'm going to tighten these bolts and that guy. At the same time, when the weight of the car is on the ground, it's going to be the same story with the rear, like I said earlier. Alright, we got the car sat down and nothing looks wonky so far. Just that bird crap. It's the only thing. Let's see if we can get under here. I think we're supposed to adjust the sway bars links. Oh boy, it's dark. Let's see here. Yeah. I think we're supposed to adjust the links until the bar is parallel with the ground. Which, it doesn't look to be too far off. It looks like, and it might be kind of hard to tell on camera with this angle, but the bar is actually slightly pointing towards the ground. But not by much, so we probably just got to spin that turnbuckle on the link. That way we can get nice and parallel. And honestly, this step probably requires two people because I'm gonna want to have my body weight in the passenger, or excuse me, the driver's seat. That way we're getting most accurate reading as we can. So I think I'll have to find roughly something that weighs me and see if we can get that adjusted. We got our sway bar links adjusted. I found a buddy who was willing to sit in the passenger or the driver's seat for me. That way I can get them adjusted. So everything's good. To adjust the sway bar links, the sway bar, you want it to be parallel to the ground when the driver is in the car. And so basically I had my friend sit in the car and I was under here with the car on all four wheels, just twisting the end links. That way they could get the sway bar parallel to the ground. And so about ready for a test drive now. Doesn't really look any different, but wish my lights would stay on. They're intermittent for sure. Now that we got everything adjusted, we're just going for a little test drive. Honestly, it feels exactly the same as it did before while we're going in a straight line. But where this is supposed to come alive is when we're in harsh cornering conditions and stuff like that. So there may not be too many places we can achieve that on the road, but I still suspect we'll be able to tell. Let's see if we can find a decent corner where we can see if this thing's working or not. Of course, today is blowing 30-mile-an-hour winds. Oh yeah, we can feel that. That is way different. And we're not killing it or anything. We're honestly following the speed limit. We're just going around a curve. You can feel it. That is a noticeable difference. It feels much more planted, if that makes sense. Like the car's flatter, you know. But even just jerking the steering wheel around a little bit, you can just feel this thing wants to go right where you point it. That's what's always made the Miata great, is it's always kind of been that way, but now we've expanded on that and honestly may have unlocked a little bit more time when it comes, or maybe unlocked a little bit more speed when it comes to the course. See if I can find some twisted and knotted up roads here in the Great Plains. Now up to this point, we've just done some on-ramp stuff and then just whatever the 90-degree turns are, you know, going through the neighborhood or, you know, stuff like that. So we haven't really leaned on it too much yet to really feel it, but I can just tell with those limited scenarios, this thing is definitely improved. Oh, wow. Yeah, it is, it's tight. Nope, I like that. We're gonna need a smaller steering wheel though. Yeah, this thing is tight. It's just going right where we ask it to. It's responsive. You don't have to ask it twice. You tell it, I won't go that way, and it'll beat you to it, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. This is the kind of stuff that's fun to do. It's why people like working on cars when it goes this smooth, you know, and you get this kind of benefit. It's awesome. There's not much like it. And so just when you find something like this, just enjoy the process. This thing is a blast to drive, and these sway bars, well worth it. There's not too many other modifications that you're going to find that affect the car in this way for the money. I mean, the only thing I can think of that might be similar is like coilovers, but those are like $2,000 for the good ones, at least for my car. I mean, you can put some cruddy ones on, but you're just going to compromise streetability. And that's what's nice about these sway bars is when you're going in a straight line, which is most of the driving most people do, you can't really tell the difference. It's when you hit a corner and turn the steering wheel and feel it dive into the corner and the car just honestly wants to party. And not saying it wants to spin out or anything like that, but it wants to turn, you know, and that's what we're looking for, you know, mods like that for this Miata. You know, it already handled great. It was like a go-kart that was legal on the road, but we maximized that and we didn't ruin a characteristic of the car that we enjoy. And when you can do a mod like that, that's simple, easy, and relatively cheap to put on, that's a win every day of the week. And I got a couple of clips here of the factory sway bar, or the body roll rather, with the factory sway bar, and then I have a clip of the upgraded bar in measuring the body roll. And honestly, the graph doesn't do it justice. You can see we improved a little bit, but this thing is noticeably better to drive. And even if you can't see it in these pictures, you just have to take my word for it. It's something I'm considering doing to my daily driver, honestly. And it's not like I'm trying to kill it in my daily driver. You know, I'm just taking just to and from work for the most part, but it just makes the car that much more fun to drive. I think, you know, eventually we will do coilovers to really make this thing drive, but we're not there yet. I need to do a driver mod before that. But ultimately, if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribing, you know, liking the video. And if you see something that you liked, comment down below. If you see something that you thought I could have done better, let me know, because I'm all ears. That being said, I guess we're at the end of the video. So thanks for watching Slapdash Garage. Have a great day.